Hello everybody, welcome to another Four Styles edit. Today I've got a landscape of a place local to me called Poulter Country Park. But before I begin, I'm considering doing some tutorials, uploading some videos in mostly Lightroom and how to do certain edits on photos. So if there's anything specific you want to see, leave a comment below and I'll make those videos and they should be interesting. So diving in here with the first edit. I'm going to go increase the exposure a little bit. So I really like the clouds in this image. I think this is why I took it in the first place, and just like the nice contrast with the ground. So I'm going to be trying to bring out a lot more of that cloud detail. So contrast, go a little bit higher, but before we go too far, I'm going to put a gradient on this one. Just bring that exposure down on the clouds a little bit, and going quite high on the contrast there. There we go. So I think on all of these, I've got a little bird in the shot. I may or may not remove it each time. We'll see how that goes. But just using the spot removal tool, just zapping that out. So this one, I want to go a little bit warm on the temperatures. I'm not going to go over the top, but just enough to bring some warmth to the image. And then we're going to start playing. So highlights coming down, keep that cloud detail. Now I've lost the shadows a little bit. Don't want the foreground to be like too bright. I could go quite crazy with it. I kind of want to leave the feeling that the sun is behind that, so these trees should have some shadow in them. Whites, I'm bringing the whites up a little bit just to bring some brightness back into those clouds, and those blacks. Same thing again as the shadows, really. I just want to bring them down. I want to have some shadows there. Okay, and that yellow, I really like that yellow, so that's going to get some more saturation in it. And same with the blues, I want to bring some more colour into the clouds. Okay, there we go. That's edit number one. So I'll look at before and after. So on to edit number two. Now, selecting those clouds, I might try and go for a bit of a darker image, and I'm going to bring out some more blues in those clouds. That temperature's coming down. So I'm just going to do global exposure and bring the shadows back up. I'm going to bring that up a little bit. Contrast I'm going to leave as is because I'm going to play with the tone curve a bit on this one, but highlights just a little bit. So let's start by putting in, I think I might want to go for like a kind of really washed out look with this one. So I'm going to go quite aggressive on that curve and bring it back. So kind of give it that like hazy summer day feel. That little bird is still annoying me. So ideally I should have removed that before creating 4 images, but hey ho, here we are. And to just keep that, I'm gonna bring the clarity down. Probably about 25 would be good. That's just going to soften the entire image. On the vibrance wise, so just want to bring that down a little bit more. So I think I've probably lost a little bit too much in the greens and a little bit too much in the yellows in terms of colour. So I can just get a bit more saturation in them. Just lighten them up a little bit. And it's not very often I increase saturation in the greens. I'm usually more get rid of it. And there we go. That's edit number 2. Let's see. There's before. There's after. Edit number 3. Straight in. Zap the bird. Be gone, little bird. Now, to do with this one. As you know, I like going a bit fun on these edits on the third one. So, exposure up a little bit, contrast up quite high. Let's get that gradient in straight away. Bring my exposure down a little bit. Just bring that a little bit more. I might put a range mask in. So let's get a luminance range mask going and see that fall off, so we can hopefully just hit the highlights. So you can see that around the area. If you've never used a luminance mask before, it's just a good way of separating your work on the details between the shadows and the highlights. So I'm just changing the range so that it should only mostly affect these highlights. So bring that exposure down again, and I'm going to keep on increasing that contrast. Highlights just down a touch, and let's add a lot of clarity to those clouds. And duplicate that layer so that we can have a strong vignette coming. Maybe that's too much. So I wanted to add a lot of darkness there, but it sounded like a little very unnatural. Yeah, maybe about that. Okay, now what to do with the ground? So the ground is probably still a little bit underexposed for me, so I'm going to try and play not with the gradient tool, but with our shadows a little bit. And what I might do now is put an adjustment brush. I'm going to leave it my default 2 times plus exposure, so just drop that brush anywhere. And I'm going to just start adding some little details into this wheat field. Now this might look bad, it might look good. I think this is one of the tips Nigel Danson gave recently. A good way of just like bringing out details in heather when taking landscape shots in the Peak District. So if you've not seen the video, it's really worth seeing. So it kind of gives that effect that the sun's hitting the top of this large yellow grass around the area. I'm not going to go into the edges too much. And just being quite light here. So this is like the equivalent of doing a dodge and burn to an image, just to bring out details. And I might do the same with some of these tree areas in the middle, just to give us some focal points. I'm going to try and keep those shadow patches where they are. There we go. I'm going to leave the tone curve on this. I think I'm happy with the overall image, but I am going to play with the color gradient a little bit. So shadows, I want to just kind of do a standard blue orange mix. So basically we're going to reduce the temperature in the shadows, but then in the highlights we're going to increase the temperature. And I think that's good enough for me. No, I'll leave that as it is. So just without the color gradient, that's before and just after. So it's a very subtle change to the image, but it just affects the overall appearance. Definitely in a way I like. Leave a comment below if it's not a way you like. And I think we're done now. So let's go before, after. That's before. And now we've got after. So on to our final image now. as is my way with these things, straight into black and white. Kill the bird. Exposure wise, I'm going to go exposure up, but similar to a lot of these, highlights come in right down, whites coming down. Actually, yeah, I think I am going to put that gradient back in. And let's get that range mask going on here. So we can just affect those highlights again. And I'm bringing that exposure down. Contrast up again, bringing out those details. There we go. So texture, I quite like a lot of texture in black and white images. Don't like soft black and white images too much, so I'm going to increase that. And I think I might go similar to what we did on the last one, so let's get that adjustment brush and we're just going to go paint over some of these details again. And obviously every time it's going to be different. You might be screaming, why didn't I just take the last image and just click black and white on it? But I do like editing images from black and white off the offset because there's a lot you'll see. If you ever go back into color again as well after making something black and white, it will look quite trippy sometimes. Let's just catch these in the corner a little bit. So you can see it just adds a bit more depth to the image. There we go. So I wouldn't mind bringing a little bit more separation or a little bit more contrast between the shadows and the highlights. So I'm just going to put in a small-ish S-curve. So you see as soon as I bring that darks down, those dark colours come in a lot more. I'm quite liking that already actually, so I might leave it there. But we'll just see when we bring the highlights back up, how we go. Yeah, that's what we're going for. And it's already got quite a natural one, so it's something I'm don't play with enough. Let's put some profile corrections on this. Should have been doing that all along. I'm going to put a post-crop vignette on it. So, wrong way. You can tell I don't do this too much, but I'm just putting a small little bit on it. I'm going to change that midpoint around a little bit. And we're going to feather that a lot more. Might have got a little bit too much of that. There we go. And I think I'll leave that there. Like sometimes I usually do like playing with color grading on black and white photos, but I'm quite liking that at the moment. So let's see the before and after. Before and after. So if you've liked today's video, please remember to like and subscribe. As mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to be trying to do some tutorials, or thinking about some tutorials to do. If you've got anything that you would like to see in Lightroom, and mostly around editing pictures, leave a comment and we will try and get those made. Thanks for watching.